was drifting through the quiet years, letting days repeat their lines. Every hope I almost trusted felt like it belonged to someone else's time. I learned how to live inside the echo of things that never start. Then you stepped into the stillness, and I heard my name in your heart. I didn't know how empty silence was till it learned a new shape. Somewhere in the way you listened, I felt myself awake. It was a dream that echoes your heart, soft but strong enough to stay. Every fear I'd been defending slowly faded away. I didn't need the whole tomorrow, didn't need the perfect part. I just knew I was finally breathing in a dream that echoes your heart. You spoke like truth didn't need protection, like love could take its time. Your hand rested easy in mine, like the moment was already mine. I felt my past loosen its grip on me, like it finally understood that not every dream has to be chased. Some just feel this good. I didn't know how far I'd wandered till I felt that close. It was a dream that echoes your heart. In the quiet between each beat, all the nights I'd been surviving, found a softer place to sleep. I'd known love that came in promises that couldn't play the part, but this one lived inside the moment, a dream that echoes your heart. Time may try to blur the feeling, turn the now into before, but some dreams don't fade to memory. They teach you what you're living for. If the world grows loud and restless, if my courage starts to drift, I'll remember how I found myself in the way your heart exists. It was a dream that echoes your heart, and it echoes still in me. Not a wish, not a fantasy, just the truth I choose to see. If this life keeps turning chapters, if the light and dark both start, I'll carry who I'm becoming now, in a dream that echoes your heart.
burned too brightly, lit the night then slipped away. Promises made in sudden heat that never learned to stay. I learned to keep my distance, to guard every fragile part. Then you came in without warning, like a quiet spark in the dark. You didn't rush the moment, didn't need to prove your name. You just stood there being constant, while my doubts fell into flame. You were a fire that softly stayed, not loud enough to scare, warming every broken corner I forgot was there. I didn't feel the blaze begin, didn't see the way it grew. I just felt the cold leave my bones in a fire that softly stayed with you. We talked about the way to living, about scars we never chose. You never tried to fix my past, just let it finally close. Your hand in mine felt steady, like it knew where I had been. And I felt my heart stop bracing for the way things always end. I didn't know how safe it felt to stop watching for the fall. You were a fire that softly stayed through the long and quiet nights. Every fear I'd been surviving lost its fight. I'd known love that came in thunder, left me shaking, left me blue. But this one learned to keep me warm, a fire that softly stayed with you. Time may test what we've been given, try to thin the glow we share. But some flames aren't fed by passion, they're fed by being there. If the world grows cold and restless, if my courage starts to fray, I'll remember how love held me in a fire that softly stayed. You were a fire that softly stayed when everything felt unsure. Not the kind that leaves you burning, just the kind that helps you endure. If this life keeps changing seasons, if the night grows long and gray, I'll walk on warm by what we found. That softly stay. Settling into corners, streetlights humming soft and low. You pulled your coat a little tighter, like you weren't ready to go. We stood there saying almost nothing, letting the quiet choose its side. I watched the world lean into shadow as you stepped into the night. used to watching moments fade, disappear when doors close tight. But something stayed behind that evening when you walked out of sight. It was a light that followed you home, down every silent street. Every fear I'd been carrying finally felt less heavy. I didn't need to walk beside you, didn't need to know how far. I just felt the dark give up its hold as that light followed you home. The air still held your laughter like it hadn't learned to leave. Every shadow felt less certain of the ground beneath its feet. I'd known goodbyes that felt like endings, cold and final, carved in stone. But this one felt like a beginning, even standing there alone. I didn't know how hope could linger after the door was closed. It was a light that followed you home, soft but burning true. All the nights I'd been surviving shifted in their view. I'd known love that needed distance to prove what it had known, but this one glowed beyond the moment. The light that followed you home. Time may dim the hours between us, turn the night into before, but some light doesn't fade with distance. It remembers what it's for. If the world grows sharp and restless, if my courage starts to roam, I'll remember how love stayed alive in a light that followed you home. It was a light that followed you home, and it stayed with me as well. Not a promise, not a future, just a truth I could feel. If this life keeps pulling forward, if the night forgets my name, I'll walk on warm by what we shared. The light that followed you home. Never said the things out loud, just let the silence do its work. Conversations drifting sideways, truth hiding in the smirk. You pause before you answer, like you felt what I meant to say. And I learned how much can be spoken when nothing's in the way. I know distant sound, but something deeper was unfolding in the spaces we left around. It was a love that grew between words, in the quiet we didn't feel. Every glance, every breath we shared taught my restless heart to be still. No vows written in the open, no promises overheard. I felt forever take its first step in a love that grew between words. We talked about the small forgotten things, like they carried all the weight. You listened like time was patient, like nothing had to race. Your hand brushed mine unintentionally and somehow changed the room. I felt my past loosen its grip right there between the truth and you. I didn't know how safe it felt to not explain myself. It was a love that grew between words. Every doubt learned how to rest. All the nights I'd been defending finally laid to rest. I chased sparks that burned out loudly, left me bruised and unheard, but this one stayed and found its strength. A love that grew between words. Time may pull us into sentences we're forced to speak someday, but I'll remember how love found us before we got in its way. If the world demands an answer, if the noise becomes absurd, I'll return to where I learned the truth between every word. It was a love that grew between words, when my heart learned how to listen, not in what we promised openly, but in everything unsaid between them. If this life keeps testing meaning, if the silence feels unsure, I'll remember how I learned to love in a love that grew between words.
Louder than it needed to be, conversation spilling like rain. I was halfway through another evening, just trying to look okay. Then you turned like you felt me watching, and time forgot how to move. In that second everything softened, like the world made room for you. I've been living in careful seconds, letting nothing stay too long. But something in the way you looked at me said I'd been wrong. It was a moment lost in your smile, when my guard came undone. Every doubt I'd been defending
defending fell quiet all at once. I didn't plan on remembering, didn't know how deep it'd go, but my heart stepped out of the noise in a moment lost in your smile. We talked like we'd already known each other, like the past had stepped aside. Your laughter settled all my questions before I asked them why. I felt my reflection change a little in the light you carried in. Even my old shadows felt lighter, just standing where you'd been. I didn't know how tired I was till I didn't have to pretend. It was a moment lost in your smile, when the night slowed down. All the walls I'd built for safety couldn't stay around. I've known love that came in thunder, left me shaking, left me cold, but this one found me quietly in a moment lost in your smile. Time may try to shrink the memory, turn it into just a face, but some seconds hold their ground, they don't fade. If the world grows sharp and restless, if my faith feels out of place, I'll remember who I was becoming in that simple grace. It was a moment lost in your smile, and I never found my way back. Not because I was broken, but because I finally cracked. If this life keeps rushing forward, if the answers come too slow, I'll carry who I learned to be in a moment lost in your smile. Against the shoreline, like it didn't want to leave. I was carrying another quiet, full of things I couldn't say. The air felt heavy with old endings, stories I'd already lived. Then you reached out without thinking, and the night began to shift. I've been bracing for the same old weather, for the chill I'd always known, but something moved in that small moment, like I wasn't alone. It was a touch that changed the wind, turned the cold into a calm. Every fear I'd been defending lost its arm. I didn't need to know tomorrow, didn't ask the sky to bend. I just felt the world grow kinder with a touch that changed the wind. We walked like time had slowed its breathing, steps in rhythm, hearts unsure. Your hand stayed warm against my fingers, like it knew what I was for. I felt my past loosen its grip on me, like it finally understood that love doesn't need to shout its meaning, just to be felt where it stood. I didn't know how tired I was till the weight began to lift. It was a touch that changed the wind. Every doubt fell back. All the nights I'd been surviving lost their track. I'd known love that promised shelter, then disappeared again. But this one stayed inside the moment, a touch that changed the wind. Time may bring its restless seasons, try to pull us out of place, but I'll remember how it felt that night when warmth replaced the ache. If the world turns sharp and restless, if my courage feels thin, I'll return to that still second where hope first moved within. It was a touch that changed the wind, and I changed a little too. Not fearless, not unbroken, just open, just true. If this life keeps turning corners, if the nights grow long again, I'll carry who I was becoming, from a touch that changed the wind. The clock was moving, but we weren't, letting the world pass by. Your jacket on the back of my chair, your eyes holding mine. We talked about nothing important, like it mattered the most. Every word felt unguarded, every breath felt close. I've been chasing tomorrow, running miles ahead of now, but something in your quiet smile taught my heart to slow down. When forever felt like today, and nothing else had a name, no promises carved in stone, no fear of what might change. I didn't need a lifetime, didn't need a guarantee. I believed in where we were, when forever felt like today to me. The room was filled with borrowed sunlight, late afternoon
like the moment already knew. I felt the past loosen its grip, felt the future fade away. For the first time in so long, I wanted here to stay. I didn't know how rare it was to feel this unafraid. When forever felt like today, every doubt fell through. All the nights I'd been surviving lost their hold on truth. I've known love that rushed the ending or lived too far ahead, but this one stayed inside the moment when forever felt like today. Time will ask its questions later, pull us into different days, but some moments don't belong to time. They're meant to stay. If the world grows loud and restless, if my courage starts to sway, I'll remember who I was becoming in that quiet place. When forever felt like today, I became more than before. Not fearless, not unbroken, just open at the core. If this life keeps moving forward, if tomorrow slips away, I'll carry how it felt to believe when forever felt like today.
Day let go without a warning. Streetlights breathing soft and low. You stood close like you were listening to something neither of us spoke. The world behind us kept on moving. Right there it lost its sound. Every step we didn't take felt safer standing still on that ground. I'd been living in the in-between, afraid of what I'd feel. Then your silence leaned toward mine, and everything turned real. When night fell around us and the noise slipped away, every fear I'd been carrying had nothing left to say. No plans for the morning, no need to discuss. I believed in where we were when night fell around us. Your hand found mine like it remembered something I'd forgotten too. That love doesn't need an audience to know when it's true. We talked about the shape of living, about scars we never named, and somehow all the broken Didn't know how heavy daylight was till the dark felt kind. When night fell around us, every doubt let go. All the miles I'd been running finally slowed. I know love that chased the future left me lost and rushed, but this one lived inside the moment when night fell around us. Time may pull us into daylight, ask us who we're meant to be, but some moments don't belong to time, they belong to what we feel. If the world grows loud and restless, if my courage starts to rust, I'll remember who I was becoming when night fell around us. When night fell around us, I became more than before. Not fearless, not unbroken, just open at the core. If this life keeps turning pages, if the answers don't adjust, I'll carry how it felt to believe when night fell around us. The streetlights stretched the evening like they didn't want to fade. We walked without a destination, letting the quiet lead the way. Your coat brushed mine in passing, every step fell into place. I wasn't looking for a miracle, just a moment I could face. I'd been living in half decision, keeping love at arm's length tight. Then the night leaned in around us, and something softened inside. When our shadows held hands on that broken sidewalk line, I felt something real and steady for the first time in a while. No promises written in stone, no future drawn in plans. I just knew my heart was learning when our shadows held hands. You talked about the years behind you, like they'd finally let you go. I listened like every word you spoke was something I should know. The city breathed around our silence, cars passed like distant waves, and even all my old defenses didn't ask to be saved. I didn't know how close comfort was till it walked right by my side. When our shadows held hands, every doubt stepped back. All the nights I'd been surviving lost their track. I'd known love that rushed the ending, left me shaking where I stand. But this one stayed in the moment when our shadows held hands. But some moments don't belong to time, they live quietly in me. If the world grows loud and restless, if my courage feels unplanned, I'll remember who I was becoming when our shadows held hands. When our shadows held hands, I became more than before. Not fearless, not unbroken, just open at the core. If this life keeps turning corners, if I lose where I began, I'll carry how it felt to believe when our shadows held hands. The house was quiet in the early evening, shadows leaning on the walls. Your picture stayed on the dresser like I never heard the call. I've been learning how to move forward, learning how to be strong. But the air still knew you're breathing, like you'd only stepped out, not gone. I told myself that time would fix it, that memory would fade. But love has ways of staying present, no matter what we say. When yesterday didn't feel gone, and the past stayed close to me, every word we never finished still felt incomplete. I wasn't trapped in what we were, I wasn't lost in regret. I just felt love standing quietly when yesterday didn't feel gone yet. I walked the streets we used to wander, same lights, a different name. The laughter from a passing stranger still sounded just the same. I've lived new days, I've crossed new chapters, learned how to carry on. But some loves don't live in memory, they live in who you've become. I didn't reach for the past, it reached for me. When yesterday didn't feel gone, every moment overlapped the man I was and who I am. Shared the same steps back, I've known loss that came like silence, and goodbye that lingered on. But this one stayed without asking, when yesterday didn't feel gone. Time doesn't erase what mattered, it teaches hearts how to hold, turns the ache into something gentler, something warmer, something old. If the world asks why I still pause when your name moves through my mind, I'll say love doesn't disappear, it just changes shape with time. When yesterday didn't feel gone, I didn't wish to rewind, I just honored what love gave me and left behind. If this life keeps moving forward, if tomorrow keeps its tone,
I walk on grateful for the truth I carry when yesterday didn't feel gone.
I was standing on the edge of myself, not sure what I could be. Every dream I ever held too close felt out of reach to me. I learned how to live with hesitation, call it wisdom, call it age. I kept my hopes folded in my pocket, afraid to turn the page. I've been listening to all my doubt, letting fear decide my worth. Then you looked at me like you already knew who I was beneath the hurt. When you believed in me first, before I found my way. When you saw something in my eyes I couldn't say. I was strong, but I was uncertain, lost in what I couldn't see. Everything started changing when you believed in me. You never tried to push me forward, never told me who to be. You just stood there steady and patient, letting courage come to me. Your faith didn't need a reason, didn't ask me to explain. It just wrapped itself around my doubts and taught my heart to stand. I didn't know how heavy I'd been living till the weight began to lift. When you believed in me first, every fear stepped back. All the nights I'd been surviving finally cracked. I'd known love that asked for miracles, then vanished when I slipped. But you stayed right where I was when you believed in me first. Time may test the ground beneath us, ask us who we'll become, but I remember how it felt that moment when your faith made me strong. If the world grows loud with questions, if my courage feels unsure, I'll return to who I was becoming when you believed in me first. When you believed in me first, I became more than before. Not fearless, not unbroken, just open at the core. If this life keeps moving forward, if the answers come too slow, I'll walk on night was leaning toward goodbye, keys already in my hand. I'd said the words I always say when I don't think I can stand. I was halfway out the doorway, halfway back into my past. Every step felt like surrender to a life that never lasts. I told myself I'd be okay. I always am, I always try. Then your voice cut through the moment, soft but strong enough to stop time. When you said, stay with me, something broke and something healed. Every wall I built for safety finally let me feel. I was ready to keep running, ready to believe the lie, but my heart chose truth over fear. When you said stay with me, you didn't beg, you didn't promise, didn't try to change my mind. You just stood there open-hearted, like you weren't afraid of mine. Your eyes said more than words could. They said you don't have to leave. And I felt years of loneliness start loosening in me. I didn't know how tired I was till you asked me not to go. When you said stay with me, every doubt fell silent then. All the nights I'd been surviving finally reached an end. I'd known love that needed distance, that kept one foot outside, but I learned what courage sounded like. When you said stay with me, time may still ask hard questions, the road may twist and bend, but I remember who I was becoming right there and then. If the world turns cold and restless, if I forget what's true, I'll remember how my life changed in the sound of you. When you said stay with me, I became more than before. Not fearless, not unbroken, just open to something more. If this life keeps pulling forward, if the night still tests believe, I'll walk on stronger than I was. Since you said stay with me.